15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto on Elvis in the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here now, your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. Really excited for tonight's episode. The Buffalo Bills are just finishing earlier today, wrapping up minicamp, which means that it is summertime. School's out. It's funny because the kids down here in North Carolina just went to school and just finished up school, Summer break is here. And even the kids in Western New York, where my co-host is, they're getting ready to wrap up the school year. So all the exams are done. All the testing is done. School's out for summer. School is out. Joining me tonight, my co-host, as always, riding shotgun, Adam Dump Truck Rupsick. Check him out on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Rupsick, RUPCZYK. Holla at the crew, DT. What's good? School's out, man. What's that? I don't even know who sings the song with School's out.
I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know who sings that, but everyone knows the words. Well, what's up, crew? NCC, we're back, baby. Nice little breakdown on mandatory mini camps over. Now we can gear up for training camp, and as we keep gear up, a fake gear up, but training camp's when it really gets real. That's when
right.
it is the actual. I mean, the definition of gearing up is training camp, right? So, got a little while before that happens. A lot of golf to play, a lot of beers to drink before that.
Yeah, absolutely. Click clack, we back. You're absolutely right. A lot of golf to play. The U.S. Open. I know Tiger was in the leaderboard for a minute.
That's down in NC. That's down in
Yes,
Pinehurst,
it's down
right?
my way. Yep.
Raleigh, right?
Yes,
down in Raleigh.
In Pinehurst. Pinehurst is a few hours away from Charlotte, and the best of the best in the golfing world are there for the U.S. Open, and Tiger was on the leaderboard for a little bit, and then he fell back. But absolutely, I'll be tuning into that. Yes, fast greens, as the golfers would say. So you can chip it on the front of the green, and then it'll roll right off because it's so hot. And the greens are moving real quick down here. But we're really excited. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Again, this is our last episode. The Bills are breaking for summer, and we will break for summer. So we will be back at you guys full swing come training camp when the Bills get to St. John Fisher in Pittsford, New York. Cannot wait for that. And I wanted to just chop it up with you tonight, DT, more of just a kind of laid back episode. Again, school's out, man. My kids are out. My kings, they're all done with school. My youngest, Quincy, just graduated from preschool, so he's getting ready for kindergarten. So, I mean, you can't tell him shit. He's a big boy now. I mean, he's officially big boy. He doesn't want to use the little kids' forks anymore or spoons. He wants all big boy stuff. So we're ready, man. School is out. Summertime is here, and what a great time it is. DT, I wanted to chop up a few things with you because, as we approach training camp at the end of next month, it's funny because, the storylines are going to be, we're not going to have any problem getting the storylines and have any problem having things to talk about when it comes to training camp. And we've already talked about the wide receivers ad nauseum, but I wanted to kind of break up and talk about some of the things that we'll be looking forward to as we get to training camp, DT. And one of the position groups, obviously outside of wide receiver, that's going to get a lot of attention is obviously the quarterback always, and how Josh Allen elevates and how he is able to lift up this group and different things like that. And obviously not a training camp battle or anything like that. We have our QB1, but it was interesting because Josh Allen this week, DT, talked about how he had, kind of tweaked his throwing motion, how he had kind of tweaked some of his mechanics, so to speak. And he talked about the biometrics guys and how they film everything that's going on with his throwing motion. And I thought that it was really fascinating because I even heard Sal Capaccio on WGR talking about how he thought that he was trying to get back to base level and different things like that. I had heard DT Josh talk about the fact that the body shields itself from pain, and that is a real thing. And I thought that it was something that Sal might have missed on it, because I thought that it was a situation where he might be actually compensating for the fact that he was hurt last year. And I wanted you to get some of your thoughts on it, because of the fact that I don't think that his elbow was right. I don't think that his shoulder was necessarily right. And I thought that there was a chance that maybe some of this retweaking and tweaking of his actual throwing motion comes from the fact that he was compensating for some injury last year. And maybe, it's funny because we're talking to, I'm getting ready to talk about the NBA at the end of the show, but it's funny because at the end of the season, that's when you find out all the dirty laundry, right, DT? You find out about all the guys that were hurt and they didn't want to say anything, and they'll grit through the press conferences and they'll say, oh no, I just got to play through it and different things like that. I think there was a legitimate chance, DT, that our quarterback number 17, Josh Allen, was hurt last year, DT. I think it's legit to at least explore, because hearing some of the things about his throwing mechanics and how he's trying to tweak them, I think that just the fact that he talked about pain, shielding his body from pain, I think that he was hurt last year, to be honest.
Well, I don't know. I'm not with you on the fact of guaranteeing last year being hurt. Definitely the year before with the elbow.
With the UCL.
That was, I think, worse than anybody thought. And, they covered it up and he covered it up and, talking about not even throwing in practice during the week and then going out and taking it easy in the games and, had to uncork that one in Thanksgiving that you saw live. That was really the only hose, after that elbow injury that we saw that year, that hose, getting it down. So it's a little of, yes, these guys play banged up. And when you got a guy like 1-7 where he initiates contact and loves contact, he's probably a little more banged up than the rest of the QBs in the league. And that's something we're going to have to deal with the rest of his career here. But I also think this is just June talking, a month till training camp, and the not saying anything is saying something, right? And we want it to say something, and I think he was just trying to fill some empty space, talking about he's working on some mechanics and whatnot,
biometrics,
and biometrics and fine tuning and then mentioned, when you're hurt, the body kind of shields itself. And so I think maybe he might have created some bad habits. But what I took out of, he was talking about, quicker release. Like he was saying, it got a little longer last year. His stride and his release.
More of a tomahawk throw.
And that's, it's something I back. I want him to have a quicker release and a quicker throw. As you know, I'm super critical of the offensive line, and they had a good year last year. We can hope they have another year. But this league keeps getting tougher and tougher to block guys. And when it's breaking down and he might not be as mobile as he is now later on in his career, he's going to have to, sling it quick. So if it's the mechanics of getting the ball out quicker, I'm all for it. But I'm not reading all the way into, he still had a MVP caliber season. The numbers were there and we needed him. He balled out when we needed him to ball out. So was he a little banged up? Probably, sure. The year before, I think he was actually hurt and fought through it. This year might have been a little more just banged up. But I'm more of the actual mechanics, get the ball out quicker and fine tune the craft, baby. Mahomes probably doing the same thing, and you got to beat that guy. So don't ever stop fine-tuning it. I know you like to bash on the golf game a little bit and bash on the stuff.
I was just going there.
But hey, if he's
he talked about it. I mean, he said a golf swing.
He has been working on it.
He talked about a golf swing and tweaking it.
Let's hope it doesn't mess anything up too much, and he's still the old Josh Allen we love. But I'm not reading too much into it. I just hope he has a nice quicker release.
Well, I think that you're absolutely right, because maybe I am reading a little bit into it, and because it is that time of season where you're trying to read into everything. But one of the things that stood out to me was that he was talking about how he says that when he watched how he was at Wyoming, he said he looks at the tape and it's like, ew, gross. He even said that in his press conference, like, ew, that's gross. So I can tell that he wasn't satisfied. How about that? You know what I mean? Sure. Sometimes we don't know all the nuances and we don't know what these guys go through as professional athletes in that respect. And they're always chasing perfection, and they're always chasing, the perfect motion, the perfect route run, the perfect defensive pass rush, moves and different things like that. I mean, obviously he was not satisfied with what he was doing. And I just was wondering if there was anything that was lingering. Obviously there was no offseason surgery. There's not anything for Bills Mafia to worry about in that respect. He's not hurt or anything like that in that respect. But I think that he was maybe masking for some of the things that were, maybe lacking last year in respects to the fact that he was still off of that UCL injury. He was still off of that shoulder injury, so to speak. And maybe he was, compensating for it. But it'll be interesting to see as he goes in. I know he had talked about the biometrics guy that was there, and they were, filming him and Trubisky, and, they're going through the whole mechanics. And you're absolutely right, because that tomahawk throw is something that I did notice, DT, even though I'm not a quarterback guru or anything like that. I did notice the fact that he was, more of a hacking motion and whatever the case may be. So I'm just wondering if he's able to get it all cleaned up by July, and really, to be honest, if he's able to clean it up by week 1, because that's really all we care about is by week 1. Is he ready to go against the Cardinals?
I think the velocity too helps. The way the faster the ball comes out of that dude's hand, like it doesn't. He takes probably a lot of mechanics out of it, right? I mean, the fact of just being able to throw it as hard as he can. It doesn't have to be a perfect mechanic, like, because he with the force he can get it there. But going back to, looking back in college, and that's just a funny thing, right? Because I'm sure every quarterback, every player in the NFL will look back at old tape and say, "Oh, damn! Like, what was I doing? What was I thinking?" I mean, look back at your Facebook statuses from 2010, Rob, and you go, "Damn, what the hell was I doing?"
What was I doing? Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to progress, and I believe he's a tough MFer, man, and there's gonna be other injuries that come up in his career that he might not be able to grit through, and so if this is something just kind of, stepping through and getting to what he wants. And that's how he got the UCL hurt in the first place, right? The arm was back and got cranked. And, so if we can eliminate any of that and just more of an Aaron Rodgers type of,
Aaron Rodgers.
So
we'll see. I got you. I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, there was something that I just took away from his press conference the other day. I heard on WGR them talking about it, and I was like, well, when he said shield the body from pain, I understood that, I just thought about injuries. I thought about, basketball's my first love, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show. That's why I've got the Buffalo Braves and I'm repping them tonight. If I tweak my ankle, if it's a big game, I'm gonna, I'll tie that shoe tighter, and and you know what I mean. I'm just gonna get through it. You know what I mean? Because we got a big game and a Star Point against Albion, and those are our rivals. And I can't miss this game. We're playing the Purple Eagles, so I've got to find a way to get through it. And I know what that feels like as an athlete, to just grit yourself, through something that you're not necessarily feeling your best. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, as we transition, DT, training camp next month, coming up at the end of July, St. John Fisher, again, the official home of Buffalo Bills training camp. It has been for some time. DT, what are some of the position battles that you are looking at? It's funny because when it was that, that Red Wednesday, or whatever you want to call it, when Brandon Beane made all those changes and got all those veterans out, it was, obviously a somber day for Bills Mafia, but it was, also it was a sense that it was like medicine that had to be taken. And I think that I've switched my mind to kind of viewing it that way. Like, listen, this was some of the stuff that just had to go on. Mitch Morse definitely was the biggest surprise of those cuts, and we talked about that on the podcast before. But other than that, like, everybody else almost just made sense. You know what I mean? Even down to Saran Neal, Trey White, who I love behind me. All those guys, even the safeties, Micah and Jordan. It all kind of just made sense that, like, listen, this is the time that we've got to get younger. And it seems that youth movement is going to be in full effect as we approach training camp. What are some of the positions that you are looking at in respects to the battles? Because for me personally, on the offensive side of the ball, I was shocked by the Mitch Morse thing, to be honest. And then I was doubly shocked the fact that, McGovern is going to be moving over to center. And then I heard him, this week during minicamp, and he's talking about how he's so excited and how he's talking about his Penn State days. And we know that you've got ties to Penn State, and how he missed calling the offensive line. He missed calling and doing all the checks that a center would do. What are some of the things that you're looking at? Because when it comes in training camp outside of wide receiver, which we've, again, talked about ad nauseum, I don't really know where the battles are in respects to, like, this guy is going to fight for this job for this guy against this guy. Like, I just don't know exactly where they lie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you talk about the receivers, in nauseum and the biggest question mark on the team, but I mean, realistically, I think on the defensive side, the defensive backs, from the corners and the safeties are going to be that's the biggest kind of mix up. We're relying on Rasul Douglas to come back and be, play at the all. He wasn't an All Pro last year, but played, pretty damn good, right? So. We're relying at him to be an All Pro level, and then Christian Benford, had a good year, but has battled injuries, and so who are we filling in that cornerback room as it's kind of just been a rotating door the past couple of years with Trey White not being on the field and out as much as he has.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in that cornerback room? Who's filling that depth? Because that's where you really need the depth of other than Taron Johnson. It's kind of it's going to have to get deep, and then you look at the safety side of things as well. The top two guys of this organization the last 7 years on the defensive side of the football are gone, and you got Taylor Rapp, who came in and had a decent year with us last year, has got to come in and play.
Sometimes out of position,
a lot more.
Sometimes out of position.
You got Williams, you got
Mike
got
Edwards.
A lot of guys. Yep, Mike Edwards. And who's the guy they got from Tampa Bay? What's his name? Recently.
Well, Mike Edwards came from
Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City. But he won like the last two Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, crew, you have to hit us up on the other guy. We just got like a couple weeks ago from Tampa Bay.
Oh, really?
So there,
I don't remember.
And there's, so I think that's going to be the biggest question mark, is something that definitely safety when we were set on for the last 7 years. Now it's kind of a motion around who's going to be there, and cornerback is, if Rasul Douglas isn't who he was last year, who's going to step up and fill those roles. And so I think defensive backfield is going to be my biggest point of contention for this team. I think the offense and wide receivers will fall into place. Defensive line's kind of set, and linebackers, when healthy, we know who's going to be out there. So defensive backs, it's my biggest question mark. Going to be a nice battle. Who's going to be the dog? We talked training camp. We're pumped up for competition. Who are the dogs going to be that are going to be playing on Sundays in our defensive backfield?
Yeah, it's interesting. The defensive backfield is interesting because, like you said, there are some new names, there are some new faces. Cole Bishop, is he going to get a chance to crack the lineup? Is he going to get a chance to actually, start? Sometimes, they always talk about how McDermott doesn't like to play younger guys, and when it comes to the defensive backfield, that has kind of been true. We've always, hired Dean Marlowe's and some of those good Kirk Coleman's to come in and try to help out, that type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if Cole Bishop can kind of crack that lineup, because he's a young guy, and he's, the defense is sometimes complex, and McDermott, he demands a lot from his defense, and we respect that. We like the fact that, what did we talk about just last week? That, we're least worried about McDermott and his defense, and we're least worried about the fact that he can get things in line. So it'll be interesting to see the defensive backfield. I've been looking at DT. It's not even, I don't know if it's a camp battle, so to speak, but the defensive line is probably number one for me in respects to, like, what the fuck is going on outside of wide receiver. Obviously, wide receiver is number one, and we've talked about it, like we said, ad nauseum. But defensive end, defensive rush, I just don't. And can you blame me? I don't know if Von Miller is ready to get back to his form.
Yeah.
And I watched those first 8 games and I defended him on Twitter. I have been defending him on Twitter about, like, listen, he had 8 sacks by week 8. We went in, Thanksgiving game. I told you I was there with my sister in Detroit. She lives in Detroit. I was there, and then he goes down. But, like, prior to that, he was worth the investment, DT. He's coming off a Super Bowl run. He wins the Super Bowl, and, his second of his career. And then he's everything that we thought that he was going to be. I mean, there was no, like, down, like, oh, man, that was a bad signing. Oh, Brandon Beane, spent too much money on $120 million. We know how salary caps work. We know how contracts are, constructed. It was a situation where I was like, man, this guy is really living up to the billing. After that, it has not been there for Von Miller. And I'm just wondering if we can get back to that guy, because that's like one, like, if Von Miller can be what he was when he first signed with the Bills, a sack per game. And I know that that's a lofty expectations. Obviously, everybody's not going to have 16 sacks or 17 sacks a season. But my point is that if he can have that kind of production or close to it, then we're all set. But if he's not ready, Greg Rousseau is not really ready to step up and take that next step, then you've got, what, AJ Epinesa, you've got Kingsley Jonathan, you've got Casey Toohill, you've got, Javon Solomon, the rookie. Like, there's just a lot of question marks that, like, damn, if we can't get to the quarterback, because McDermott's defense is predicated on 4 pressure. Like, that's it. Like, that's what D'Amico Ryans is running right now in Texas. He's, down with in Houston. He's running like, listen, we've got, Will Anderson, and then we just signed Daniil Hunter, and we're going to get after the quarterback. We're going to meet at the quarterback, and we're going to play this thing and make you guys, throw against us with our 4 pass rush. And I'm nervous. Like, if Von Miller doesn't come back, it makes me a little bit nervous about what's ahead.
Well, Robbie, he's got to be better than last year, right? Has to be. I mean, that was a legit zero. So he's got to be a little better than last year. I do think Leonard Floyd was one of our biggest losses, of the year. He was very productive for us last year, and took out Aaron Rodgers 5 minutes into the season. And I'm not condoning that we take out everyone's starting quarterback, but just the
part of the game,
exactly. So I think that is a big loss. But then you got to also the draft and develop. Like, we have Rousseau and Epinesa, and paid them and signed them. Rousseau is obviously on the 5th year option, but Epinesa got another contract, and so they've had their time to kind of grow into this league, and now we need to start seeing more production from them. Like, we're going to have to rely. As the old guys left, they're not the new guys anymore. They are the veterans of the 3-4 years. And so we are going to have to start relying on guys like that. And I think Von Miller has got to be better than what he was last year. And I don't know, man, you see those quads in minicamp this week, they're bulging out of there. So, and he's at least, if anything, he's a good teacher, right? And he knows how to win, and he's teaching these guys each and every day to be better in the room.
They follow him.
They definitely do. And
they follow him.
Solomon, led the NCAA in sacks last year. And so there's bright points that we need to rely on to be brighter. Last year we talked about we need Leonard Floyd to have 8 to 10 sacks for us to be successful, and he did. So there's going to be more ultimatums like that as we get closer to training camp. There's going to be a lot more ultimatums like that. We need this to be successful, and it's going to take all 53 to do it this year. That's going to be the interesting part about it, and why training camp's going to be so fun to watch to see who earns it. But on the interior wise, you're going to also have to hope for more pressure with Ed Oliver, who was a menace, last year. DeQuan Jones was a menace and is back healthy. And those guys really got to bring the pressure from the middle as well to take some pressure off these guys that are on the outside, where you can't always have it from the outside. You're going to need some middle pressure too. So, and we didn't talk about our boy, the wrestler, Gable. Gable. I mean, we'll see. It'll be the best 30 for 30 that ever is if he turns into be, somebody wild. But
fucking
the
McDermott
idea is nuts, and
fucking McDermott got to get a wrestler in.
The Aaron Donald vibe, right? I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald. Yeah, I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but
he is
the
not
dude's a brick shit house. The dude's a brick shit house. Can do a standing backflip at 300 pounds. I mean, we'll see. But we'll take some chances on some athleticism in the middle too to help that edge not have as much, pressure on themselves to get pressure, if you will. A lot of pressure talk there, but we need more from everybody. Leonard Floyd was big. He's not there anymore. We need more from the guys we drafted and developed with Epinesa and Rousseau. And if Von Miller is half of what he was last year, I think it'll be enough to kind of filter in that rotation and be good enough up front.
Absolutely. I like that. I like where your head is at on that. It'll be interesting to look at because, like I said, I just know that some people that dog Von Miller on Twitter, and that's where, like I said, that's where I have a lot of my interaction with Bills Mafia, with Nickel City Crew is on Twitter now. They like to dog him, and they like to pretend that, it was a bad investment, and they talk about his personal life, which we already have talked about here on Nickel City Crew, that we don't condone that, because if we want to start talking, we can really start talking, and then we would alienate a whole bunch of people. So listen, I don't care about his personal life as long as he's not, murdering anybody or doing anything crazy in that respect. Then I kind of stay out of that type of thing. When it comes to the on-field production, he was worth every penny of the investment up to that Detroit game. He really was. Yeah. And I'm hoping that he can get back to that form, because it would obviously help the pass rush for the defense. Now, as we continue and as we transition, check us out again, Nickel City Crew on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out. Tonight's episode is presented by 26shirts.com. Please head over to 26shirts.com for all your latest Buffalo Bills themed t-shirts. Again, portions of the proceeds are going to support a family that's in need in Western New York, across the country. Somebody that needs it is going to be supported by your purchase. Head on over to 26shirts.com. Again, salute to the Godfather, Del Reed. We've had him on the show, DT. We had the Godfather episode. He's running a great website over there. Head on over to 26shirts.com. They've got a lot of different themed t-shirts right now for Buffalo. They're really cool, to be honest. I've got a couple that I'm getting ready to order for the Kings this coming up summer. Just some cool t-shirt themes. And again, they all support a great cause. Now, DT, as we transition, it's funny because when you talk about defensive end, then I want to obviously talk about wide receiver. But if I think about another group, it's got to be tight end because of the fact that this Dalton Kincaid guy, DT, is just – he's the toast of the town, and everything he does is just perfect. And boy, he's going to have to be that. I mean, like, dude, like if there was ever dude, I need you to be that guy. It's really Dalton Kincaid. Like, Stephon Diggs gone, Gabe Davis gone. What did we talk about last week, DT? There's like 150 targets or something like that. Like we talked about the touchdowns. We talked about everything that we're missing from Dalton Kincaid, from Stephon Diggs' exit. I mean, like we kind of need Kincaid to be like, we kind of need him to be that motherfucker. Like if he's supposed to be Kelsey Light, we kind of need him to be that. Like it's almost nowhere to hide for him. And I hate putting that type of pressure on a second-year player, DT, but it's almost like anything that we thought that you were going to be heading out of the draft, we need you to be. If you can be the big slot, if you can be, I heard about security blankets today. They were talking about Brian Baldinger, who, Jeremy, I love Jeremy White on WGR, and he was talking about how like Brian Baldinger did a breakdown of like, listen, he showed like 5 different plays where like, listen, Josh is under duress. Where does he go? He's going to Stephon Diggs because he feels comfortable. If it's not going to be Stephon Diggs, then somebody's got to step up into that role. And I heard a bunch of people saying, well, it's going to be Kincaid or it's going to be Shakir. We kind of need Dalton Kincaid, to be that motherfucker. Like we need him to be that dude. Like it's almost nowhere to hide for him. And I hate putting that kind of pressure on a second-year player. But we really kind of need him.
That's why
that's what happens when you let stuff go. Like you need him.
That's why we brought him in. That's why he's here, and has had that supreme athletic ability in college and showed spurts last year. I mean, Rob, the guy had 73 catches last year.
I know.
Rookie,
nothing to sneeze at.
The yardages.
You're right. If it wasn't for Sam, if it wasn't for Sam Laporta, we would be ecstatic with his growth. It's the fact that we had, there was another guy in Detroit that caught more balls and caught more touchdowns.
And he was on your fantasy team. He had 73 catches for us. I mean, that's
nothing to sneeze at.
We need an uptick. We need better at least have that, coming up this year, and more comfortable, more athletic, and it's all the makings of being that great pass catcher that we need him to be. And there's a lot of upside in that room as well. I mean, Dawson Knox had good games for us, and then was hurt basically all last year, and we didn't see much from him. And scored the final touchdown to get us into the division title last year. So
that's true.
And even I love Quentin Morris as well. Like when he's on the field, he never is, but when he is, it seems like he's always kept it in a touchdown. And Trey McKinney is a huge prospect coming out that is never had a downside, right? So a lot of upside in that tight end room, and I think that's just going to help Dalton Kincaid get better and become that guy. And it's like you said, it's not a secret. It's not like something that this dude's going to find out in the middle of the season, like, oh shit, I got to be the guy that Josh is coming to. Like it's pretty clear and apparent that he does have to. So I hope the team is working on that, and he's working on that and knows that and answers the bell. I mean, at the end of the day, Rob, this this is a dream, right? You get called into the big leagues, you get called to the NFL, like to be a star. And this is your opportunity to do that. So the dreams can come true for this kid. I don't think it's something he can't handle. 73 catches last year, come in and make it happen this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of a, heavy is the crown. You know what I mean? Like, you get all those passes, you catch, what was it? USC caught 19 balls or something like that. And then the pre-draft, we're talking about that. I just don't know where, Brian Baldinger brought up a great point, and I love the topic this morning. Again, we're doing this live, and we'll obviously release this tomorrow for the rest of the audience. But like they talked about it on Twitter, like Brian Baldinger, and I watched it. Like I took the time this morning when I was working to like watch what this breakdown was, and like and obviously you can isolate plays and you can paint any picture you want to paint. But the point of it, the overall arching point of Brian Baldinger's point was that when the chips are down and Josh has a free rusher coming in his face or the pocket breaks down, whatever the case may be, he looked to his security blanket. He looked to somewhere where he could trust. And I think that trust is the biggest word because Keon Coleman's a rookie. Curtis Samuel's never caught a pass from Josh Allen. We've got all these plethora of other wide receivers who have never caught a regular season pass from Josh Allen. I don't know about Shorter. He never did in the preseason or anything like that. But like you've got a lot of fresh faces in the receiving room, whether it be wide receiver or tight end. Josh is going to go to where he trusts. I mean, look at Shakir. Shakir did not get targets from Josh his first year for a long time. Like Josh wouldn't throw to him at all. And because of that, is it all based on trust? Is it all based on Shakir not knowing what the fuck he was doing? Like, I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't go to work with them. So all I can do is pontificate. All I can do is assume. And what I drew from the Brian Baldinger piece was that Josh, when the chips are down, he's going to go to where he feels comfortable because I need these yards. I need these 7 yards. I need these 13 yards. It's third down and 9. I need this 11 yards. He's going to go where he feels comfortable. Can Kincaid be that kind of target for Josh Allen? Is going to be something that we're all going to have to watch. Shout out Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, almost 1,000 DT watching us on our last night before training camp. We appreciate all of you, man. I mean, salute to you guys. Again, we've got big plans for Nickel City Crew coming up. Again, we will be back at the end of July when training camp starts. I promise Nickel City Crew. I only lied to you guys one time. I confessed last week about, my prediction for the season. I don't think it's 12-5 like DT does. I think it's more like 10-7, but I've already confessed it. Like I have nothing else to confess to you guys. We really, really appreciate you guys. We do it for you guys. This is the whole reason that we do the podcast, is to interact with the fans. We are so happy. Almost 1,000 people, DT, watching on all platforms right now, DT. Our last episode before training camp. School's out for summer. You know the song that I'm talking about, DT. I don't know. Somebody hit us up on the comments. I don't know who the hell sings that song, but that's like a classic song. I play it for my Kings every single year on the last day of school, just to kind of commemorate and to celebrate that they're out of school. DT, as we wrap up tonight, it's funny because we talked about Josh Allen. We talked about the throwing motion. We talked about some of the camp battles. The last battle that I wanted to talk about, and it's not even a battle because this guy's going to be the guy, but I think that I've gotten my fill of hearing that James Cook, your boy, Jimmy Cooks, is dropping fucking balls. I think that I have heard the last that I need to hear. They said that he dropped him in minicamp. OTAs. They said that he dropped him in minicamp as well. I don't want to hear about it anymore in respects to the fact that like this dude dropped like the problem with your boy Jimmy Cooks is that he dropped balls like that were touchdowns. Like he dropped balls that were like this is surefire. Like you catch the ball, you're going up the sideline and it's a touchdown. Or he was in the end zone for one of them that he dropped. Listen, I like him. I know that running backs are running backs. I know that they're dispensable. Whatever the case may be, all of his defenders will tell me that he was fourth in the league in rushing last year. And obviously that's a great, but like running is not the same as always it was. Like the running back position is not the same that it always was. I need you to do more than just run. Like I need you to like be a threat out of the backfield. What is up with the yips? Can somebody from Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, get this dude a jugs machine for these next 30 to 45 days? Like I need somebody to mail him a jugs machine. Like I really am sick of you dropping the ball because again, the impetus for all of this again is we let Steph go. So because we let Steph go, the rest of you have to step up. Huh? How about that? We let Steph go. The rest of you have to step up. I can't have you dropping balls, man. I'm sorry. I know that it's minicamp. I know that it's OTAs. I know that none of this shit even matters. I really do need you to stop. Like I just heard it the other day, man. He dropped a couple balls in minicamp. I know you're already shaking your head, and it doesn't matter, and he'll do it in the games. But now he's giving me enough leeway where I'm like, well, I don't know if he's gonna do it in the games because I watch games and he didn't do the shit. So like, what the fuck? Like, I need you to get the ball,
machine.
man. I'm sorry.
Jugs machine. You know, next 5 weeks, 1,000 a day, whatever.
1,000.
You got Ty Johnson coming in with another good, and Ray Davis, guys that are going to push him.
Davis, yes.
You know, to be better. I'm not saying he's getting benched for these dudes by any means, but he could. You know, if they come in and they are.
No. I'm not trying to controversy. I'm just saying, like, he needs to do his job.
And keeps fumbling. You know, the bench is there. But another little backdoor thing that may help. Older brother Dalvin's still free agent coming into the summer.
God!
Bring him on.
We saw that last year with the Jets.
In, but to just when your big brother's there, getting in your ass. That might change it a little bit, You get your ass kicked, right? You ain't dropping in front of big brother. Nate's playing better when Bobby's around. You know that. So it's
yep. And Quincy tried to do everything that both of them do. Yep.
Exactly. Right. So that's that. Hey, that if you want an answer, sign Dalvin Cook. That'll help.
Oh my God! I just don't want him dropping balls in key situations because I can remember a lot of times last year where it was a big situation and he was dropping balls. Like I said, I remember some passes up the sideline. I remember one in the end zone, and like it was like a surefire touchdown.
Philly
was like, I'm like, God, Lisa, I don't want to hear about it. I've heard about Tyler Bass, and he's shitty throughout OTAs and minicamp, and he's missing kicks, and like obviously, ideally, we want to be going for touchdowns, and we don't even want to care about those types of guys, and have them be a factor in the game, so to speak. But like James Cook is different. Like he's the starting running back on the team. And if there's a check down situation, or if it's a situation where you leak him out the backfield on a wheel route, like I just need you to do your job, man. Like I don't want to hear about, oh man, it was close and stuff like that. I guess the overall point is I think the margin of error on the offensive side of the football, DT, is going to be smaller. It's going to be almost razor thin. Not no disrespect to this 24 Bills team. Like I don't know what they're going to be yet, but I know for the last 4 years with Stephon Diggs and the crew and with Josh Allen, we were blowing teams out. You just gave the stats out, DT, a couple weeks ago. You just gave out the stats of how many blowouts and different things like that we've had on this team. I think that the margin of error is going to be smaller, and I want to make sure that we're crossing every T and dotting every I. And I can't have my running back that's open on a wheel route dropping the ball, and then now we're in 2nd and 14. You know what I mean? Like I just can't have it. I'm sorry, and I know I'm being harsh because it's mini camp and OTAs, but yeah, I need him to catch the damn ball. I'm sorry, I really do.
Oh, Nickel City Crew bulletin board material. James Cook, you're Rob out.
I love it.
You can catch, dog. Come on.
Oh my God, I love it. As we wrap up tonight, I appreciate your time, DT. It's funny because I had said last week that I hope that the NHL finals, I hope that the NBA finals, they go all 7 games, overtime every game, because I'm not really a big baseball guy. I want to be able to enjoy the sports, competitive sports, as we wind down this calendar year heading into summer. DT, I had to get something off my chest. You see me tonight. I'm in my Buffalo Braves. So again, for those of you, the younger viewers, Nickel City Crew, again, Bills Mafia that don't know, the Buffalo Braves are the Los Angeles Clippers. We started that entire thing. They went to San Diego, then they went to LA. So listen, you can claim Kawhi Leonard if you want, his injured ass. You can claim Paul George. You can claim all those guys. James Harden, who also is annoying. You can claim all those guys. Those are all Buffalo Braves. Listen, DT, I watched the NBA Finals last night, and I think I talked to you pre-show. You said that you had tuned in as well. This guy, Luka Doncic, I had to end the show on this because it encapsulates to me. I know it's a different sport, I'll say that out off gate. Luka Doncic, watching him and seeing how maddening he is to watch play basketball, because basketball is my first love. Like DT, I told you that. Like basketball is where I started. That is my first love. Watching a guy like Luka Doncic play, makes me more appreciative of a guy like Stephon Diggs. And regardless of the tweets and regardless of all the controversy and oh my gosh, and he's doing the same thing he did in Minnesota, I can bring anything back to Stephon Diggs. One thing you couldn't say was that he didn't try. One thing that you couldn't say was that he didn't have passion. One thing that you couldn't say was that he didn't want to fucking win. When I watched Luka Doncic last night, DT, I almost wanted to throw the controller at my screen because of the fact that this guy begs for calls. Then, if he doesn't get the call, he is not running back on defense. And then his team literally came down from 21 and lost the game in large part because of the fact that he was just a baby on the court and such a prima donna. You want to talk about prima donnas, Bills Mafia? You want to talk about, being self-centered, Nickel City Crew? Stephon Diggs was not that. Look at this guy, Luka Doncic, DT. He makes my basketball skin crawl. Like literally watching him play basketball is one of the least enjoyable things I've ever had to do, man. I mean, last night was on full display. You got the whole Luka Doncic experience, and it was horrible, man, from start to finish. It was horrible.
This is a tough light. I mean, this is the biggest light from Luka. I like Luka, so I'm on the like Luka, but this series has not been good for him, and this series has been the most eyes on him, right? So it's a tough look for him, and he's going to have to learn from this. I mean, he's definitely going to have to learn from this. You're playing a team that you're outmatched. You definitely are outmatched. The Celtics are better than the Mavs, straight up. Just man-to-man, 5-on-5. They're a better team. So you have to be there for everything, and he is. He's getting the points, and Kyrie literally couldn't have played better. But then it's just that. Then it kind of falls off after them. So you can't be, when they were trying to pull away. They were up 15 in the first half, and there was 2 possessions in a row. He falls down, he's crying for a call, and it's 4-on-5 on the other side. And that's just game plan on the Celtics. Like the Celtics are like, all right, this dude's going to do this. So when he does this, run, and we got a 5-on-4 every single time. So it's a tough look for him. I do like him. I think he's still on the younger age. I'm not making excuses for him, but he's got to learn from this. This is tough, with a lot of people looking up to him, a lot of kids looking up to him and being a nasty player, and then he's doing shit like this.
I have DT because they've been begging him to stop this.
If it's cost him a ring and he doesn't learn from it, then he ain't. What did Colin Cowherd today called him a little better Carmelo Anthony?
That's perfect. That's why Colin is one of the greatest. Listen, man, this guy is selfish. Yeah. To me, he's selfish. I watched play after play. They put it on Twitter. They got a little compilation of just him. Okay, he'll get beat on defense. First of all, he's been like the Matador. He's getting beat on defense, and then they'll score. And then when he comes down on offense, he will try to bait call the refs. And if he doesn't get the call, I watched him on 3 different occasions fall to the floor and then bitch as he's jogging back, and Tatum's going to jam the ball in. And I'm like, yo, man, I was yelling at the TV last night, like, get back on defense. I coach my Kings in basketball. Like, I would never, like Nate would not even have it as. He doesn't have a booty. I would chew all of the rest of the booty that he doesn't have. I would chew it all out if he did not get back on defense after making a mistake. Get back. Like, that's basketball 101. That's like fundamental stuff. So sometimes it just rubs me the wrong way when, I hear how people talk about Stephon Diggs. I hear about people talk about how, oh, well, he was a diva and this and that. I'm like, man, you can't question his effort. You can't question how much he cared. You can't question the fact that he wanted the team to win. And when I watch a guy like Luka, it's like literally it's like the opposite. It couldn't be more opposite. Like, this guy is selfish. And I just I feel bad for the Dallas Mavericks in respects to the fact that the other guys, because they had an opportunity with Porzingis out to win this series, and Luka, man, he shitted away last night. That's the most selfish performance I've ever seen in my life in respects to basketball, of a guy that like literally does not give a shit. He just wants the refs to know that he's mad. And like, man, that is not what this is about. You are in the NBA finals. Like, you are at the last stage. Like, this is not what this is about, man. I had to let it off my chest. Again, that Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia. That's why I wore my Buffalo Braves stuff today because I had to get it off my chest, DT. Like I know you said you're a Luka guy. I can't even. The only reason I'm rooting for Dallas is because I'm not. I can't root for anything Boston.
I like Luka, but
I can't.
I did not like what I saw last night and what I've seen this series.
Oh my God, he's the worst. He makes my basketball skin crawl. Listen, DT, I appreciate your time tonight, man. I said we were going to go for like 30 minutes, and as always, we always hit you with a nice big episode. Over 1,100 people watching, DT, on all platforms. I mean, Nickel City Crew, we love you, man. We love y'all, man. Listen, we will be back. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy, man? An episode that we said we were barely going to do any time on. Over 1,100 people watching, man.
Love it. Nickel City Crew. From the start, you keep growing with us. That 1,000 turns to 2. That 2 is going to turn to 10 and 100. And, let's go. Let's go, baby.
I like that energy. I like that energy. I like that energy. Yes, ride with us. Listen, again, we've got big things planned up for this coming season. Again, we will be back in the end of July for training camp. We've got a lot planned, man. I'm working on an on location at Al's and trying to work on that for live shows for next season. I'm working on guests. I'm working on former Bills players. I'm working on everything, Nickel City Crew. Just know that your boy Rob is definitely in the trenches working. We've got a lot planned for this year. We've got giveaways coming up this year. A lot of stuff. We stole some stuff from K-Gun Report. We love those guys over there, the K-Gun Report. We're definitely going to do some giveaways, some jersey giveaways, different things like that. So we are excited for season 4. We are in the middle of season 4. Or actually, we're in the beginning of season 4, and we're just getting started. But we cannot wait for training camp to start. Again, DT and I will take a break with the rest of the Buffalo Bills and administration as we approach training camp in St. John Fisher. We will be back at you guys full force when training camp starts, and then it's just literally DT. It's foot on gas pedal all the way through whenever this thing ends.
Yeah, I'm gonna use these 5 weeks to decompress myself, not think much about it, and then I'll ramp up when we ramp up. So golf and beers, baby. Golf and beers.
I ain't mad at you. Golf and beers. I ain't mad at you, man. Listen, out there, spread love, not hate. These were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Hit them with the Go Bills. Over 1,150 DT. I mean, come on. Nickel City Crew, we love y'all, man. Big Ben, Noah, Robbie, Josh Kluel. I don't want to name everybody by name, man. We love y'all. The OGs, we love y'all. And anybody new to the Nickel City Crew, man, check us out. We will be live every single Thursday. I mean, holla at us, man. Holla at the crew. Click, clack. We back, DT. Go Bills. Go Bills. I mean, go Bills. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.